Michelle, welcome.
Hello,
Oh,
Michelle.
perfect. Yay! How is everyone?
Great.
Great. Awesome. Okay, so I'm not sure how your meetings usually work, but I know that Bashar gave me basically a little bit of indication that I should present myself first and then talk a little bit about animal rights, nutrition, and then we'll have questions, anyone who's interested in asking any questions, right? Am I getting the gist of it?
Yeah, so I just want to do a little funny intro. She's vegan, she's a boss, it's vegan boss Labrosse. I know I butchered the last name, I'm not a great French speaker, but yeah, you have the floor to yourself now. You can talk about all the great stuff you do, your life, and who you are. We'd love to hear it.
Thank you so much, Bashar. I appreciate that. Yeah, so my Instagram tag is Vegan Boss Labrosse, just so in case you guys don't know. And my actual name is Michelle Labrosse, if you were saying it in a French way. So I am a personal trainer, a holistic nutritionist, and a lifestyle coach. I actually help people transition to a whole food vegan lifestyle. I have been in business for myself for about 6 years now, and I live in Oakville, Ontario. And the reason I'm on this call today is because I met Bashar very randomly. He is a very well-spoken and outspoken person, as you guys probably know. I was just at the pier here around Tannery Park, and I was talking to my dance teachers, and I was with my partner who's a videographer, and he was filming them do some choreographies specifically to help promote their business. And we do dance exchange with them. So he helps them with videography and they give us private lessons, which is an amazing energy exchange. So even just advice for you guys in the future, it's always something that's a possibility, right? If you're really interested in something, you can easily offer your own skill set in exchange for something else. That's something that is very plausible for people. So anyway, we're there at the pier, and all of a sudden, one of the teachers actually just quit her job. So she's telling me how nervous she is, and she's going, full on into the business and really trying to expand this as a dance teacher, which she's amazing, by the way. But she's nervous, right? Like, it's new, and I mean, it's COVID era, so there's a lot of uncertainty happening. And I was just telling her a little bit of a speech, right? I was just trying to inspire her to not let her fears take over and to feel confident about what she was doing, because as you must already know, when you're really, really passionate about something, you're going to draw exactly what it is that you need or want into your life. If you love what you're doing and you're passionate and you're showing that to the world around you, you're going to attract that same energy. So I was explaining that to her, and she was feeling a bit more at ease, and that's kind of when Bashar popped up and he was like, "Hey." It was the cutest thing. It showed that he was a bit timid, but he really gathered the confidence to come. And I was wearing a sweater at the time from the Save movement, which is a vegan movement that helps educate people on animal rights. And he noticed it, so he said, "You're vegan." And I said, "Yes, I guess it's that obvious." And he said, "Yeah, well, the sweater and this and that." And he said, I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I was listening to what you were saying, and it sounded really inspiring. And that's the type of energy that I would need for my group. So right away, he did not mess around, approached me, gained that confidence, and asked for me to be here today and speak. So I thought that was amazing. We were able to further discuss for, a good 15, 20 minutes, and I agreed to join, absolutely, to talk to all of you. So as I've mentioned, I am from Oakville, and I do right now have a full roster of clientele. I usually get people who approach me because they want to learn how to move functionally, usually because they either want to gain muscle, or they want to lose weight, or they want to feel better about themselves. And quite often it's also because they want to combine that with holistic nutrition, with a whole food vegan lifestyle. So that's what we work around. For myself, on a weekly basis, I see a variety of clients, and because this year COVID happened, I have been seeing most of my clients online, which I'm extremely grateful, because I know of a lot of people that weren't able to make that transition. And for myself, as soon as I saw what was happening, I jumped on, okay, like, rather than us have sessions here at home in my in-home studio, we're gonna hop on FaceTime, hop on Zoom, and we're gonna put your sessions in from home. Because especially in a time like this, we all need to really take care of our mental health. And we know that exercise is really a huge component, right, to make us feel better. So I definitely didn't want my clients to stop training during these hard times. If anything, they needed even more. So I organized all of that for them. So I was extremely lucky to continue my business this way. I mean, you know, overall 2020 has been a very interesting year. But regardless, apart from all of that, the way that I started doing animal activism is quite interesting. So I'm gonna back up a little bit, okay? Quite a few years. In 2011, I woke up one morning. I was in Montreal because I'm from Quebec, and I thought I was just gonna go to work and go train at the gym, because at the time I was a mixed martial artist, studying in boxing, jiu-jitsu, a variety of martial arts. So I was getting ready for a competition, actually, for my first competition ever. And I was just heading into work and completely fell out of bed. And I was startled at first. I'm like, okay, what happened? And I started realizing that I lost 50% of strength from my right side body all the way down. So from the neck down. And needless to say, I rushed to emergencies to try and figure out what was happening, canceled work, canceled training. And the first thing that I was told after all of the testing was that I was diagnosed with acute transverse myelitis. And acute transverse myelitis is something that happens 1 in a million. It's an autoimmune reaction. But basically the words of my neurologist was that it usually leads to a more severe condition, which is called multiple sclerosis. And so at the time I had no idea what that was. And he told me, which was a little bit, I really want to believe that it wasn't fear tactics, but he did try to push medication at that point in time for multiple sclerosis, although I wasn't yet diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So I said I would do my research a little bit beforehand before agreeing to anything like that, because I was only 24 years old at the time. And that was a very brutal awakening, to be told that you were going to have to be on long-term medication for the rest of your life, injections, right? So I started doing a bit more research. I was very lucky at the time. I was surrounded with one particular person who was my mixed martial arts coach, who gave me advice. So he was raised on a reserve near Vancouver, and he was raised more on a native reserve. So he had seen a lot of sweat lodges, he had seen a lot of people heal themselves naturally. So he had really encouraged me to start looking at other opinions. Luckily we had internet on our side in 2011, so I was able to start researching as well and using all of this information at my fingertips to try and change my reality, right? And so I was lucky, because I had someone who helped me and gave me support and motivation on that part, because I had a lot of other people, like my family or other people in my surrounding, that wanted me to listen to what my neurologist said. They really, oh my god, you guys, give me 1 second, okay? I have to interrupt this because the technician for my internet, I think, is at my door right now. Give me 1 second, okay? Awesome. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you. Oh my god, thank you so much for your patience, you guys.
Thank you, Michelle.
I knew when they told me the time. I've been waiting for a week to get internet functioning again in my home, and I work from home, right? So it's been quite a hassle. When they told me the time that they were going to come today, between 1 and 4, I thought to myself, it'll be when I'm talking, for sure. That's just Murphy's Law right there. But thank you again, you guys, for being so patient. Where was I at in my story at that point?
You were talking about your coach who talked about, I think, holistic wellness.
Yes. Okay, amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Bashar. So, yes, I was extremely lucky at that time, because I had my coach, Cajun, who really gave me the insight on there's other possibilities. It doesn't just have to come, this information doesn't just come from one person. You can access other information and make up your own mind, right? So I decided to use his advice, and I started doing a lot of research. A lot of research. And I don't know, just really quickly, I don't know if you guys know what multiple sclerosis is, but just to give you an idea, it's an autoimmune disease. So basically, it's your immune system that attacks your central nervous system. So your central nervous system, right, is your spine and brain, okay? And what it does is it actually attacks the myelin sheath, which is the protective layer that actually protects your spinal cord and your brain. So it attacks that, and if there's enough damage created, then you start losing the connectivity, which means that you can, for example, that's why I was losing 50% of strength from my neck down, because my body was attacking itself at the cervical level, and it was creating enough damage in the myelin sheath that I was losing reception. It's like my body was losing the strength because I wasn't able to gather the information from, you know, my peripheral nervous system to brain. I wasn't able to gather that because of the damage that was happening to the myelin sheath. So just so you know, MS could happen along the spine, it could happen in the brain, but it's lesions that start accumulating, and depending on where you are progressing along this condition or disease, it could bring you completely paralyzed. Right? It could put you in a wheelchair, you could lose all your motor skills, you can basically lose your capacity to talk, to move, to walk, right? Just your basic things. So it's scary. It's really scary when you're 24 years old and you're being told that basically if you don't take medication forever, you might end up in a wheelchair. So that was really, really scary information, and I had to get out of the fear and to start more being proactive and start gaining my own information, right? And thankfully, I came across tons of people that had healed themselves from the inside out. I came across tons of people with different autoimmune diseases that gave themselves a chance, and instead of going towards the long-term medication route, they decided to choose holistic alternatives, right? And holistic alternatives, what I mean by that is sometimes it's really simple things that we forget to do for ourselves. So, for example, in order for us to function in balance, right, in homeostasis, we need to make sure that we cover our basics, like our foundation. Okay? And our foundation, so let's say that our body is a vehicle, or even is a house. Okay? Let's say our body is a house. And if you look at a house, your house needs to have a foundation. You can't just build a house without a foundation, because eventually that house would crumble, right? If it didn't have a strong foundation. So let's say that our strong foundation, there are different pillars that make a strong foundation for ourselves. So there are things such as sleep, right? Like sleep is so important for us. When we, actually I just want to give you an example on how much sleep is important for us, okay? If you look at the animal kingdom, and you look at every other animal on this planet, and let's remember we're animals too, right? So if we look at any other animal on this planet, we realize that with evolution, if sleep was not important, right, when are we at our most vulnerable? We're at our most vulnerable when both eyes are closed and we're sleeping, right? So it just makes common sense that with evolution over time, if sleep was not important, animals would have evolved not to sleep. Because that's when they are at the most vulnerable for their predators, right? That's when they can risk being attacked or being eaten, is when they're sleeping, right? So if sleep was not important, sleep would have not been a part of evolution. Animals would have learned how to adapt and get sleep out of their life. So, and if we actually look at the animal kingdom, all animals prioritize sleep. All animals sleep so much. Some animals sleep multiple times during a day. Some animals sleep overnight. Some animals sleep all day. Some animals sleep sporadically in a period of 24 hours. Some animals sleep standing. Some animals sleep with one eye closed. So animals have literally adapted to be able to sleep. To be able to sleep, okay? So that's how important it is. And when you think of us humans, we are the only animals that exist that we think that neglecting or cutting down on our sleep, it's like the first thing that we choose. It's the first thing we choose to do is like, oh, I don't have time to do this, I don't have time to do this. All right, what am I cutting out? Sleep. That's what most people choose to cut out, right? They choose to cut out their sleep. So that in itself is a very important pillar of health. It's such an important pillar of health. I cannot stress enough on how much sleep is important for you. It's important for you to be able to recover, repair, and heal properly whatever happened throughout your day. Whatever damage or whatever you were exposed to environmentally or whatever you put in your body or whatever you did, sleep allows you to repair and recover from that. So it is so important. I just want to put that in there. So remember, number one pillar, sleep, all right? If we go to number two, I would say exercise. Exercise is such an important pillar of health. Because when you think about it, again, if we think of evolution, right? Like every single being, every single animal on this planet loves to move. Some of them move really, really slow, and some of them move really fast. But regardless, right, regardless if you're a turtle or if you're a lion, you are traveling. You are constantly in movement. And as humans, you know, from if we rewind a few hundred years, we were nomads. We were active, right? We were absolutely active. And none of what exists today existed. So of course it's wonderful because we are wonderful, wonderful beings and machines, and we're able to adapt. But can we adapt that quickly? Can we adapt that quickly? I think that it's really, really important for us to move our body and to move our body every day in any or every way that we can. And that's one thing that in this day and age, with this very sedentary lifestyle, and especially now even in COVID eras, no one is moving, right? People are not moving enough. There's so much stagnant energy, We need to get rid of that, right? We need to be able to move and get rid of this excess energy that in the past we had to work hard for to survive. We've had to work hard to survive, right? Now we don't need to anymore. We are lucky that we're in a day and time where we have access to everything and anything. Really, if we wanted to, with the click of a finger, we could get everything done for us. Everything done for us. We wouldn't even have to move, well basically we just have to move a finger. We would just have to move a finger to order and do whatever we want on our phone. And the sad reality is, a lot of people are choosing that. A lot of people are choosing to live a sedentary lifestyle. And we all know that being sedentary and not moving, not having enough physical activity in your life will lead to complications, will lead to conditions, will lead to health issues. 100%. We all know that, right? So exercise, just overall daily movement is another really important pillar of health. So think about it. Your sleep, your exercise, what else are we missing? Nutrition, right? Nutrition, eating the food that we put inside of our body. You know, I never realized that in the past because before I was diagnosed with MS, I was actually, not very proudly, a very huge dairy consumer. Like, I consumed so much dairy, it doesn't even make sense. Like, I used to joke about the fact that I was worse than a calf, right? Which is a little messed up when I know the information that I know today, I'm like, oh yeah, that is not cool. But regardless, I used to consume so much dairy. And that's actually one of the first things that I came across doing research. In the research that I was doing, dairy actually has a huge correlation with autoimmune disease. Why? Because dairy actually has a very similar molecular structure to the myelin sheath, which is basically, do you need me or are you going to be okay?
No, I'll be okay.
Okay, cool. So basically dairy has a very, very similar structure to the myelin sheath. And the myelin sheath, as I said earlier, is what protects your central nervous system and your brain, right? So if you're consuming something like that, if you're consuming dairy like that on a daily basis, and like myself, I was consuming like 3 bags of dairy every second day, I was eating cheese, I was getting yogurt, like I had so much dairy in my life. It's ridiculous when I think about it. But if you're having all of that, and your body is not even able to break that down or to recognize it properly, because let's remember that this comes from another mammal, right? It comes from another animal. It doesn't come from us. It's not our mother's breast milk. It's this cow's milk that was designed for a calf, right? So if we just break it down really logically, cow's milk, the cow needs to be pregnant to have milk. Her baby is taken away from her in order for us to drink her milk. But her milk was designed for her calf. That was taken away from her for us to be able to drink the milk. And dairy cows actually have that happen to them 5 to 7 times in their lifetime. So one mother dairy cow will have she will be impregnated artificially 5 to 7 times in her lifetime, so for 5 to 7 years. And every year they impregnate her, they take her baby away. If the baby is a female, she will have the exact same enslavement as her mother. And if the baby is a calf, it will become veal. It will be slaughtered immediately. So it's literally a system that's a little bit corrupted, that has been sold to us by the dairy industry that are huge lobbyists, but that's a whole bunch of other information. So the dairy in itself though, just logically speaking, think about that. That milk was designed for a baby calf, not for humans. So as humans, there's a lot of hormones in there, or there's a lot of different things that our body is not meant to process. That our body was not meant to grow as a calf. I don't know if you've ever seen a calf like born and how big they are, and then if you compare a calf versus a baby, a human baby, right? And then how quickly a calf grows into a full-grown cow versus a little baby human into an adult human, right? So if you just think of that in itself, you already know that there's something wrong with the picture. So now imagine humans not being able to break that down because it's not our milk that was designed for us. Then it causes a whole bunch of problems because your body starts thinking, what is this? What is all this stuff? Like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with this. And then it starts recognizing it as a pathogen. And when your body recognizes something as a pathogen, it attacks it. And that's what results in an autoimmune disease. It's when you have certain things that you're putting inside your body, and sometimes it can be thoughts. It could go as far as thoughts. It's pretty crazy, okay? Bear with me. But whatever it is that you put in your body could decide, I don't know what that is. So for example, if you took a thing of glue, right? And you just took a bite of glue. Like if you tried to digest that, your body would not understand. Like it's all these chemicals, it can't use it to serve anything, it can't build or break down tissues, like it doesn't know what to do with it, right? So it's either gonna store it somewhere, or it's gonna try and get rid of it, or it's gonna cause damage somewhere, or an immune reaction. So, you know, our bodies, as I said, are wonderful machines. So when you really think about it, what we put inside of our body is so important. Nutrition is that third pillar of health that is so important. And when you think about it, of course, as you all know, I'm a vegan activist, but I didn't start that way, right? Not only did I consume a whole bunch of dairy, I come from a 2,000 population town in the middle of Témiscamingue, Quebec. And that's actually a town of hunters and trappers, and I was raised on meat and potatoes, right? Meat and potatoes, like that's basically what I was raised on as a Quebecoise Canadian. So most of you, if you know what I'm talking about, you'll understand the whole meat and potato base. So it wasn't always like that, right? I actually, unfortunately, I needed to have something like multiple sclerosis to happen in my life to actually snap out of it, to actually realize like, wow, what I'm doing to my body has to be wrong. Like, how can I result to something like this, but haven't done it? Give me 1 second, okay? Is it working?
I'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I still gotta do my...
Oh, okay, perfect, thank you. You guys, you have no idea how excited I am to have internet in here again. I realized how dependent I am on it. And I think how most of us are now, right? Especially in this era right now. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I've been talking for a really long time. I can't see the time right now, and I don't know how much of a limit you guys have. So you guys don't be afraid to either interrupt me or also to ask me some questions if there's anything right now that's standing out to you, and also to tell me if I'm tight with time.
So Michelle, I think that there was just one question in the chat box. Ethan, do you want to unmute and ask your question? I'll read the question. The question was, what do you think is the biggest misunderstanding the general public has about a vegan diet?
Ooh, that's a really good question, actually. So I think the public has a few misunderstandings around that for sure. But I think the biggest one, and the one that's repeated the most, would be the protein, right? Everyone thinking that you need to eat animals to have protein. Well, I've been vegan, I don't know if you can see, but for 8 years now, right? 8 years, a little bit over 8 years actually. And I can tell you that you can get enough protein. And actually, I want you to even think about this logically too. I always find it very interesting when people do ask that question. If you think about the strongest animals on Earth, who do you think of? Like if I think of the strongest animals on Earth, I'm thinking of an elephant, I'm thinking of a gorilla, I'm thinking of like a hippopotamus, I'm thinking of all of these big, rhino, all of these big animals, right? And all of these big animals are herbivores. Most of them eat grass. Most of them eat, you think of your horses, you think of your cows, you think all of these big, massive animals. And like, for example, if I compare, a cow to a gorilla, it's very different because the cow is a herbivore, doesn't resemble us that much, is pretty big, but it has different abilities, right? If we look at a gorilla, which are very, very similar to us, they kind of have hands and arms, and they eat vegetation, tons and tons of vegetation. Is there at times insects in there? Is there other things? Absolutely. But that gets in all of our feed, right? Like even if you have, for example, you buy spinach or you buy lettuce, you'll always find little insects in there. So we inevitably eat that without even realizing, even if we think we've washed everything out, at times it's there, right? And you know what? It's extra protein. So at the end of the day, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is really about not getting enough protein. And I think aside from the protein, I think some people are afraid of just certain nutrients. So there's protein, some people are afraid for their B12, some people are thinking of other specific, some people think that they need dairy in their life, right? They think that, as I said a little bit earlier about the lobbying, the dairy and the meat industry have done a really, really good job at making us think that we need that. But if we think of their motivation, right, what's their motivation? Their motivation is profit. Their motivation is to make money. Like, I would really want to believe that their motivation was to feed the people, but unfortunately, their motivation comes a little bit more from trying to make money and profit. And in the interim, we've built a system that helps feed the people, but now everyone is kind of hooked on this very addictive system, right? Like most people are extremely, oh, who's leaving right now? I didn't see who was saying, hey, I'm leaving, but bye.
She already left.
Oh, okay. I was like, bye. Because I just see the messages pop up just briefly at the top here and then they disappear, and when I'm in my spiel, I didn't have time to read. But yeah, so that was actually a really, really good question. I'm curious, anyone watching right now, what misconceptions do you have about veganism? Or what are the things that maybe your friends or parents or ideas that you have that you would like to know about that I could maybe answer? I don't know if there's like I can't see the questions in the chat. I don't know how to do that actually. Let me see something. Info.
I don't think there are any more in the chat. Does anybody have any questions for Michelle? Anybody thinking about going vegan and is currently not, but trying to make that transition and wants to know what maybe Michelle, if you could talk about like for someone who is thinking about making the transition. Like for me, for example, I'm a vegetarian. The only dairy that I still consume on occasion is cheese. I can't seem to break myself away from that, but I have tried like integrating vegan cheeses and but what do you think is the easiest kind of first step for making that transition?
I think it really depends on the person's reality. So it's a little bit different for everyone. So for example, it depends if you're living with your parents and your parents have more control of things. Like it's very, very situational, right? But I would say, I think a lot of people go towards being vegetarian first and then cutting out the cheese, because that seems to be, that's what I hear the most often. I hear, I'm kind of vegan, but cheese. That's what I hear the most often. So I would say that at times, if you feel like, you really want to make that extra transition, a really good video to watch that might be enough for you to decide, you know what, I don't need to be a part of this. I don't need to be contributing to this at all, is called Dairy is Scary. And it's just it's a 5-minute YouTube video called Dairy is Scary. And a little bit of what I explained earlier, she goes through the whole process. And she also explains what dairy does to our body and how we react to it, right? And also explains what happens to the cows and like the whole picture. So it's a very educational 5-minute video called Dairy is Scary. It's really good. That might be enough for those of you who are vegetarian, kind of wanting to lean over that. At times it's really just informing ourselves. Like, as much as possible, having that information and being able to make those informed decisions, right? And at times it's also a journey. There are certain things that for a bit we're like, we could still be lenient on, But I gave an example to a client of mine not too long ago, because that's what she told me. She said, Michelle, I'm like 99% vegan, but sometimes I'll still have cheese. And then I said, well, what are those circumstances? Like, is that home? Is that when you're out? Is that when someone brings you something? And for her, it's really when she's out and she feels a bit of pressure or there's not that many options, right? So rather than say, hold the cheese or something like that, she just chooses to go with it, okay? To cause the least amount of problems around her as possible. But then I asked her, I said, okay, Tanya, I want you to imagine for a second. Imagine the whole world decided, and I know it wouldn't happen overnight, but imagine the whole world decided, all right, you know what, I'm not going to contribute to this, and I'm not going to be a part of the problem, I want to be a part of the solution, so I'm not going to continue to consume dairy. I know what it does to the cows, I know what it does to the environment, and I know what it does to my health. So really, I don't want to be a part of it anymore, okay? So imagine everyone took that decision. That's it. Dairy, it would be the end of dairy, right? It wouldn't be put in production anymore because the consumers wouldn't want to buy it anymore. It wouldn't be happening anymore. Dairy would be dead, okay? Let's say that the entire world decides, well, I'm like 99% vegan, but like cheese. Well, that's 7 billion people that decide to just have cheese once in a while, right? But the once in a while is still going to keep a system going that's never going to end unless we decide to end it, right? So that's where it kind of comes down to also being active. Being active because as much as they say, not just in the Bible, but in every possible terms of morality, treat others the way you want to be treated. And for me, that means all beings, right? Because as I have even tattooed on my arm here, is may all beings be happy. Que todos los seres sean felices. And it's really about all beings being happy because we can. We can. In a world like today, a little bit to touch back on what I was saying is we have access to everything. We have access to everything a click away. We have amazing technologies. We have everything. Like, we literally live in the best time. I know that it might not feel that way, and I know that there are consequences to the fact that we're living in the best time, but if we change our direction, and change is inevitable, right? If we change our direction fast enough, we could really be living in an amazing world that we've created, right? That's compassionate, that's kind, and that lives in harmony with all beings. We could create a world where we live in harmony with our environment, with the animals in it, with ourselves, right? Like, no more dividing, no more trying to control and take over, like conquer and divide and conquer. Instead, why not build and renew and pivot and change directions and improve, right? Like, it's possible. It really is possible. We just need change makers, right? We need change makers. We need people who are willing to activate, to take action, because it's not even just about making your own decisions and taking action for yourself. It's also about taking action for the bigger picture, for the world at large. And I'll give you an example, and this is a pretty intense example that I got from an animal activist friend of mine called Earthling Ed. If you look at his YouTube, he has amazing videos. He's got extremely good content. He goes in the streets and from a very polite perspective, he argues with people. He'll say things like, hey, vegan is better for the environment, prove me wrong. And then he'll sit there and he'll record conversations with people. He's actually a very interesting character, and he's helped move the vegan movement in the UK like by 100-fold. But so I went to one of Earthling Ed's workshops, and he gave an example on why it's not only important to be vegan, because vegan is really, if we want to save the environment, if we want to save the world, if we want to save the animals, if we want to save ourselves and our people, really that's the answer, right? But what he had said that really stuck with me, because at that time I was active, but I wasn't as active as I am today. Like, today I'm leading my own groups, I'm doing as much as I possibly can to try and move the needle forward. He said, listen, there's 3 types of people, right? And he goes, let me explain to you a story. He says, imagine you're walking down the street and you're going to the corner store and you have to go down this alley. And at the end of the alley, you see this guy. And this guy is beating a dog with a stick, right? And you think to yourself, there's 3 possible reactions. There's 3 types of people for this, okay? What were you asking, Bashar?
Was it like under us?
Which one? Sorry.
Kevin's in charge. Are we talking about our Instagram, or are we talking about Michelle's?
I'm gonna just put up a whole bunch of Instagram. So mine and yourself. And I don't know, right? Like Art and yourself. So that's Art, and this is Michelle. Which is,
Cool, I love it. WOOS. Remind me what it stands for. WOSS.
White Oak Secondary School.
Oh yeah, so cute. I love it. That's amazing. So right now it's all students right now that are listening, right?
Yep, all students from the grade 9 to 12.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to finish this story really quickly, this analogy, and I just want you to remember that this could apply itself to anything, okay? To anything in the sense of being an activist. So for example, you're walking down that street, you see this guy doing this, and he hands you a stick and says, help me, right? You can look around and all of a sudden realize that no one else cares. Like, no one cares, no one's doing anything about it, so it must be socially acceptable. So you take the stick and you just continue the job with the guy, right? And unfortunately the dog dies. So that's the first aspect. Second person type, walking down the street, sees the guy doing the same thing, tries to offer you a stick, and you look at the guy and you know, regardless if there's people doing anything around it, you know that it's wrong. You know that it's wrong. So you look at the guy and you say, no, like, I'm not going to be a part of that, and you walk away. So you don't take the stick, you don't partake in the action, but at the end of this story, the dog still dies. because you didn't stop it, right? You still let it happen and you walked away. You didn't be a part of it, but you walked away. The third situation is you get to the end of that street, the guy's doing that with the stick, you know he tries to offer you a stick, you know that it's unacceptable, you know that it's wrong, and not only are you going to not partake in it, but you're also going to stop him from doing that. You're going to stop him from doing that, you're going to save the dog and run away with the dog, right? Let's make it like a very amazing Disney ending. So you save the dog and you run away with the dog, okay? So those are the three different types of personalities. In the sense of like, I think I told this to Bashar, I'm not sure, but one of my favorite movies of, like Ace Adventure, I love it. One of my favorite movies of all time is Boondock Saints, actually. And they explain in there, they say one of the worst kind of evils is knowing when something is wrong. Like you can look wrong right in the eye. You know something is wrong, but you do nothing about it. That's one of the worst kind of evils. Because when you think about it, there are a lot of evil people out there, but they don't even know they're evil. They don't even know they're evil. They were either brought up a certain way, they were shown those experiences, or they were shown to do those things, and that's been their reality, right? So they think that it's okay. They think that what they're doing is okay. So we might think that it's evil and not okay, but they think that what they're doing is okay. So to me, the worst kind of evil is not the evil that doesn't even know he's evil, right? Like he doesn't even know he's evil. The evil is the person who knows. The person who knows that there is wrongdoing and yet chooses to do nothing about it. That, to me, is one of the biggest problems that we have in society today, right? Is we have all of these different issues that we need to address, but no one really wants to do anything about it, right? And everyone knows that there's all these things that are wrong, but oh well, like what it like, but that no one's going to do anything about it, right? So it is so important now more than ever to stand up. And you know what? I'm here as a vegan activist, and of course animal rights is really important to me, but human rights are really important to me too, and it's the same, right? Because we're all animals and it's all intertwined. Like speciesism is the belief of humans that we are better as a species and that we can therefore exploit and abuse of other beings regardless of their suffering. That's the definition of speciesism, right? And most of us within this society practice that without even realizing, because it's a part of the system. So once we're aware, once we inform ourselves and educate ourselves, it's in our duty to share that information. It's in our duty to spread that awareness to others so that things can change faster, right? Because if we keep all the secrets to ourselves, what's the use? What's the use? Our whole goal, like, we all feel so much better when we make other people's lives more wonderful. And that, I can tell you because I study nonviolent communication, and, you know, Marshall Rosenberg really, he nailed it. When you think about it, and he said it, he's settled peace in between different countries and things like that, a world peace leader. He said it all. He said, no matter where I went in the world, I've noticed one pattern that really brings people together and make people happy, and it's when we're making other people happy. So ask yourself that question. Do you feel any better, or do you feel better at any time, or better at any time when you're actually helping someone else? Like you're helping someone else and you're making them feel better about themselves, usually in turn makes us feel so much better. So imagine if we were able to work together to do that for all living beings on this planet. I know that it's a possibility. But today I'm here to also inspire you to take action for whatever cause that really resonates with you, right? Of course, if animal rights and veganism really resonates with you, I would love for you to reach out to me. I have, even Bashar, actually, I printed out his community involvement hours, and as I look at this list here that says eligible community involvement activities include an event activity program, number one, designed to be of benefit to the community. So to me, everything that my group and crew does, 100%. So Bashar actually came with his brother Alam a few weeks ago to my fur-free event in Oakville. And what we're really aiming to do is gain as many signatures as possible so we can have about 100,000 signatures to get endorsed by an MPP to then present it to the Legislative Assembly of Ontario. So it's a big process, but it's amazing, and I really think that it's something that needs to go, right? Like real fur, it's something that we really don't need anymore, and it's just causing unnecessary suffering upon all these animals. And I also don't know if you guys have heard of what happened with all the minks in Denmark right now, but they've actually mutated COVID, and these minks have become like zombie minks because they literally had to kill 15 million minks because of this mutated COVID, that all of these issues and diseases and conditions and viruses stem from our abuse and exploitation of animals. And what's happening and what happened right now in the mink farms in Denmark with the 15 million that were killed, okay, because of this mutated COVID, like now it's happening in Ireland, it's starting to spread, it's happening everywhere. And this is usually a result of what happens when we keep animals in small, confined spaces. But regardless, for the fur industry, it's just such an easy industry to get out, to just make sure that we're able to ban this completely from Canada, a country that was actually built on fur. Wouldn't that be a remarkable and amazing change to finally be able to get it out of Canada, to stop the sell, the import, the export, and everything, right? I think that would be an incredible, incredible accomplishment. And if you guys are interested, send me a message and I will make sure that you can come, and I will fill up some volunteer hours for you. So, you know, at the same time, you're gonna get some hours in, and you'll get to meet some like-minded people and people that are striving to make this world a better place. So would love to have you guys, and again, we can sign those volunteer hours. I only read the first point, but all of the rest, like structured to promote tutoring, mentoring, coaching, supporting work for global nature, promoting environmental awareness, like all of those things, even if contributing to health and well-being of any group, all of those things to make a positive contribution in the community. So that's really what we strive. So it would be amazing to have you guys a part of this, whether it's because you want volunteer hours or it's because you just want to join because you want to activate and make this world a better place. So
Thank you so much, Michelle. I don't know if you want to open it up. Does anyone have any more questions? Sienna, I see that you typed into the chat. Michelle, I don't know if you can see the chat or not.
I don't think I can see the chat, honestly. I just see it pop up, and then I've tried to kind of see where I could. Oh, there you go. Oh, in call messages. Oh, I think I found the option. Ah, there you go. Use for huge events like yeah, yes, exactly. Very well said, Sienna. 100%. It would be wonderful. And they do this, like, just to show you an example, though, on how change can happen. One of my clients is an owner of the stores in downtown Oakville on Lakeshore, and she used to sell fur, right? And I had a very huge conversation with her over the years, and I showed her some of the footage that happens in fur farms, and that was that. There was no turning back. Like, as soon as she saw the footage and had access to that information, there's no turning back, right? So from that point on, she said, I am never buying real fur again. Never. So she still has a few items that she's trying to just get rid of, right? To not lose her profit. But she's making the conscious decision to never ever purchase fur again. And last week, when we were in front of Barrington's in downtown Oakville, Paul, the owner, as soon as we got there, he asked to talk with me because it was a beautiful day last Saturday, and we would have affected his business by staying in front of his business and continuing to get signatures and everything. And so he almost begged me to take the petition across the street, but I told him, the thing is this is not like a begging game, right? Like, I 100% want to work with you. I know that what you have in your store already, you already have it. I understand. But I know that you can make the educated decision to never again purchase fur. And if you confirm that with me and we could write that in contract, I will take my protest elsewhere. So we took it across the street because he didn't write it in contract yet. It was just verbal that day. And because we were already there, I brought it across the street. We gained tons of signatures. It was amazing regardless. And again, I'm not trying to make people lose their livelihood or lose their businesses. I just want people to open their eyes and transition and get with the times, right? It's just about really having more progressive and growth mindsets. It's really just about that, and I'm there to try and educate. So it was amazing. I was so happy that I had that conversation with Paul, and now I'm in contact with him, and we're going to have a written up contract where he's never going to sell fur again. And I'm going to try and make him go publicly so that all of the other stores around can take that pledge, and that's how things start really changing, right? So yeah, so thank you so much to all of you for being here. That's amazing. What an amazing group of individuals. I hope that I've inspired some of you, and whether it's to join us or to join any other group out there that is passionate about helping this world become better. Maybe you have like more environmental roots, or which is tied right up into animal ag, but still, right? Oh, I'm reading some stuff here. Let me go see. I'm gonna go see this little tag thing. In messages. Guys, I'm becoming a tech. Oh, bye Zayad. I don't know if you left already, but have a good weekend. Naomi, same. Yay, I'm so happy, Sienna, that you feel that way. That's awesome. So, oh, let's see. Yes, absolutely, absolutely possible. I'll get Bashar to put us in contact, and you could always just DM me on Instagram. And do not worry, we are looking to have a group and a team of activated people that really want to help revolutionize this world. And at the end of the day, especially in a time like this, right, in COVID, it's a perfect era to start really changing. Like we've seen during these times all of these problematics that we have, all of these issues, and it's just key for us to be able to start addressing that, and we could only do it together. We could only do it together.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I think you're so inspirational, and I think that you've really motivated all of us to get more involved and to really push for that change. So thank you. We really appreciate you coming and speaking to us. Bashar, do you want to wrap up for us?
Yeah, so thank you so much, Michelle, for coming. I do have a gift for you the next time we meet. It's not something huge. It's just, since you have 3 cats, I just have like a miniature cat you can put on your work desk or something.
You're so cute.
So you
Thank you. Yeah, and you guys didn't even get to see them. They didn't even come around. They're all doing their own thing. Thank you so much, Bashar. I really appreciate that. And thank you for gathering the confidence to come and just randomly talk to me like that. I really appreciate that. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, so.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. It's been a great experience.
Yay, I'm super happy. So anyway, in the future, you guys, anytime. And also, I have tons of other friends that are involved in different things, so if you're looking for someone to come and speak for you, like I could give you a list of speakers, and just depends what you're looking for, so.
Great, that's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you so much, you guys. Thanks for being here and for listening for this whole hour. I just realized that's amazing. I was yapping a lot, I think. So again, if anyone has any questions, or you could also just send me a DM and we could connect from there 100%.
Right. Thank you so much for coming, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, okay? Peace.
Bye.